All right, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that we are live streaming this meeting on YouTube, just to ensure that some of our council members can watch via the live stream, as well as we can always go back on this meeting to review some of the comments that were received. So I'm just going to pass it over to Paul Walsh, just so he can do some brief introductions here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Thanks for showing interest in what's going on in your community. It's great. Hopefully this was a fairly convenient time for everyone, but it's about the only time we could really squeeze in this particular venue. And we did expect that there would be some significant entrance. I want to make sure that we had sufficient space. I know our council chambers are probably too small for an open house. So this is the best venue, and so hopefully it was convenient space and time for everyone. So my name is Paul Walsh. I'm the Director of Planning Development with Municipality of Brighton. Our introduction by Smith Deck is a planner with the municipality. And center stage here tonight is Angela Bonamici. And I said that right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I probably did, but she's being nice. And she's the planner, senior planner with the firm IBI out of Kingston. And she's acting on behalf of the proponent for this project at 114B Ontario Street. And so the purpose of tonight, get through these introductions, and then we'll have a presentation by IBI Group introducing a few different concepts and different options that were considered for the property. And then there'll be a time for questions and answers so that we can hear what your thoughts, opinions, or just plain feelings are on the project. So, of course, there's no decisions tonight. The decisions come later by council at a statutory public meeting. There will be additional notice for that meeting. And typically at that statutory public meeting, there is no actual decision that night either. It's another opportunity to hear any new or updated comments from the neighbors that have taken an interest. And then staff are usually directed to follow up with a staff report after hearing those public comments. But tonight we can hear some fresh ideas and thoughts, and it gives the consultant an opportunity to hear those and take that away, address in the form of any studies, frame the terms of references for the studies that might need to be done, and generally respond with a more informed concept plan. So I think that's about it for preliminaries. Lots of time for people to speak tonight. I think we will be maybe addressing things a little bit more succinctly tonight. I think we're scheduled for 7:30 to conclude things, but I don't think we'll need that period of time. So I think we can be ready to conclude things a little bit earlier than that, but feel free to take the time you need to take to express your thoughts and opinions. And please use our comment form or email planning@brighton.ca, and that's also a good venue or medium for articulating your thoughts and feelings if you have some additional thoughts afterwards. And so maybe just take 5 minutes for your initial comments, then leave time for other people if they need to leave or something like that, and if you need to have some follow-up thoughts and second round of thoughts or opinions, then we'll have time for that too. So I think that's about it. And maybe Angela, maybe you can, or sorry, Samantha is going to give us a bit of a rundown on the process going forward from here.
As Paul mentioned, I'm the planner here with the municipality, and I'm just going to go through a quick presentation just on the development review process and where we're at tonight and where we're going to be in the future. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide the public with an overview of the development review process and identify the different stages that the public will have an opportunity to speak and to participate in the review of this development proposal. So there are multiple stages of the development review process. Right now, we're in the pre-consultation stage. Afterwards, the applicant and their agents will submit a complete application in which a statutory public meeting will be held. We'll provide the municipality will review and provide comments, as well as external agencies. The applicant will then provide a revised submission, and it will ultimately go to council for a final decision. So as I mentioned, the proponent is currently in the pre-consultation stage, and the purpose of pre-consultation is to confirm the requirements of a complete application and to receive those initial comments on the development proposal from staff, external agencies, as well as the public. So we have an opportunity to comment on that by written comments to planning@brighton.ca or this evening. And the pre-consultation stage essentially helps inform the requirements for a complete application under the Planning Act. So staff and agencies are required to determine the information that forms part of a complete application in accordance with provincial regulations and legislation, such as the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, as well as the Northumberland County official plan and the Municipality of Brighton official plan. So staff and agencies also identify preliminary issues that are to be addressed as part of the pre-consultation review. As well, staff receive comments from the public to consider in the review of these applications, and the applicant will be required to respond to each of these comments tonight as part of their complete application submission. So some preliminary issues. We're looking at compatibility of built form with adjacent properties, natural heritage features on the property. Grading and drainage is always a concern from adjacent homeowners. The impacts of construction and the development on the adjacent properties, adequate parking requirements, as well as privacy and screening from any adjacent properties. So just some of the preliminary issues that staff have looked into. So this is quite the extensive list of the complete information requirements that staff have identified to form a complete application. So some of these include a planning justification report, an environmental impact study, an arborist report, and a tree inventory and preservation plan, a landscape/trail plan, a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment, a lot grading and drainage plan, a functional servicing report, a floodline evaluation and stormwater management report, a traffic impact study, erosion and sediment control plans, an archaeological assessment, a geotechnical report, a hydrological assessment, a concept plan, site plan, and building elevation. So all that forms part of a complete application. Can I speak? Is that better? Yeah, okay. A concept plan, site plan, and building elevations. So the applicant will review and address the comments received at tonight's meeting as part of the complete application. The applicant will be submitting an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and a plan of subdivision. Once the application has been deemed complete, a public meeting will be scheduled to provide the public and council an opportunity to review and comment on the development. The next stage would be the statutory public meeting, and that will be held once a complete application has been received. The notice of the public meeting will be provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. So the statutory public meeting will be provided at a council meeting, and it essentially allows council and the public to provide their comments on the application, and any members of the public can speak at this meeting as well. No decisions will be made at this first initial statutory public meeting. It is just essentially an opportunity to provide comments on the application. So municipal staff and agency staff will certainly complete a review of the application based off of the provincial and municipal policies that I've mentioned, such as the provincial policy statement, the Greater Golden Horseshoe or the growth plan, and then the official plan by Northumberland County and the Municipality of Brighton. The Municipality of Brighton official plan will provide direction on the review of applications, including compatibility, density, and built form. As well, Lower Trent Conservation will be included as part of the review process to review any of the required environmental studies and any engineering drawings to ensure that there are no adverse impacts to the natural environment. Lower Trent Conservation will also review to ensure development is located outside of the hazard areas and required setbacks. Then the applicant will be required to, as part of their final submission, to address any comments received by staff, as well as agency staff and members of the public. The council meeting will be held to make a final decision, and then a notice of decision will be mailed out to the applicant, agencies, and anyone that has requested this notification. So the public participation, like I've mentioned, there's many opportunities to speak, as in this evening is our first community open house on the development. We will have the statutory public meeting, and certainly the public can provide comments at any time to the planning department at planning@brighton.ca, or you can call our municipal office as well. So that concludes just a process on the development review, a overview of the development review process, and I'll hand it over to Angela to provide an outline on the development proposal.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. So here is my presentation, and as Samantha said, this is just tonight a public consultation open house. Basically, I will give you an overview of, we created about 4 concepts to show that could possibly be what we can fit into the property. And one of those 4 is, as going forward right now, our preferred concept based on all those kind of concerns that Samantha pointed out. Its effect on the adjacent neighborhoods, its effect on the natural areas, and yeah, just taking into consideration servicing, parking. So that is what we're going to present to you tonight, and we would like to hear comments based on like, oh, we like this one in this concept, we like this. So this is right now a working concept because we do want to eliminate any issues that you see and what you would like to see in your neighborhood based on what is feasible, what the site allows, and of course, like what helps with the provincial policies. So next slide, please. So this is our site, which the subdivision is known as Westgate subdivision, but municipally it's known as 114B Ontario Street. And as you can see, there's a portion, a rectangular or square portion at the front that is not a part of this application. That is home to a single detached dwelling whose address is 114A. So there was a previous severance on this property. So that little square space is not a part of the subdivision. If you look at the property on any mapping, it is much larger than just this rectangular piece. This piece is what's in the urban boundary and what is allowed to be developed. Currently, the access is off of Ontario Street through a municipally owned parcel that has a driveway access for 114A and 114B. There is a single detached dwelling on 114B and a detached garage currently on the site. And the remainder of the site is used for a soybean farm. Next slide. So the subject property is approximately 5.29 hectares. As I said, it fronts on Ontario Street with an existing driveway access. Currently, there's residential on the east side of the property adjacent to Ontario Street. Cash crop is on most of the property, and there is one drainage ditch that cuts the property north-south just behind the house. So we're proposing in all 4 of our concepts a minimum of 60 units on a new municipal road. The built forms we're looking at will be single detached, semi-detached, and multi-unit housing in the form of either townhouses or fourplexes, which we'll discuss as we go on about what these fourplexes and townhouses will look like. There will be an environmental protection area for the existing drainage area and the woodlot that exists on a portion of the property. And we are also providing a park within the proposed development for all the new housing. So as Samantha kind of pointed out where we are in the process, here's a visual of it. We are in the pre-consultation stage still, but stage one I'm showing as our pre-consultation submission. So that is what we submitted to the town to start this process. At this point, we are at stage two, which is the public consultation. It started with the council meeting that allowing for this meeting to take place, and now we are having it. The next stage will be our finalizing of a preferred concept, getting all those reports that Samantha listed finalized to go and accompany our submission, and then submitting to the municipality for their review and all the other approval agencies review, as well as yourself to review and comment. So roughly, these are our four concepts. I just kind of wanted to go over briefly. We'll go through them individually, but just an overview of all of them. Due to the site itself, they do tend to look a little similar, but there are variations and they all have their different impacts on the area within it, and they all have their merits to what we are proposing. So let's start with concept one. So concept one, let me just pull up because I can't read that far. Okay, so concept one consists of 28 single detached dwellings. They are the yellow hatched areas that are on the map. There are 12 semi-detached dwellings, which are the light orange or peach colored, and the fourplexes are the orange colored. There will be 30 of them. The light green area is the open space park block, and the dark green area is our environmental protection area, which will preserve the drainage ditch that is currently there, the trees that are also in that area. And in the southwest corner, our environmental consultant is studying that area currently because he feels there may be a potential for environmental protection as well. So we're just accommodating it in our concepts right now because we don't know yes or not, or yes or no, if there is environmental protection. So we'd rather show it than not show it and then have to, account for it later down the road. And then the municipal road, all the streets in here, with the exception of the fourplexes, which shows parking and the driveway access in light gray. The dark gray is all municipal roads. Next slide. So concept two consists of 26 single detached dwellings along the municipal road, so the light yellow again, 18 semi-detached dwellings. Now we have townhouse units instead of the fourplexes in the dark orange. We have a massive park option in this one, and to accommodating the environmental area and drainage ditch in the dark green. So here we have one municipal road, well, actually two. If you see the gray at the top, that is to allow for any future development north of the site. So to provide that connectivity, if that owner ever wants to develop and help kind of with an overall plan with the city and not make patchwork development, kind of make it all cohesive and move together. The light gray area is a private road, which really just serves those residents that are on it. It's like a common element which they provide fees for the maintenance, the plowing, and all the other maintenance that goes into a private road, but that is who will own the road, all those houses that front on it. And then with this option, the house that is a single detached to the northeast corner of the property, which abuts residential property right now, we figured to keep it a single, you have the single to single interface, so it doesn't have multiple units to try and make that transition from the existing residential to the new development that much gentler, if you will. And then at the bottom of the site in the northeast corner, southeast corner, the townhouses are positioned to show a rear yard to rear yard interface, which also helps that like gentle transition from the existing residents along Ontario Street. Next concept. And then our concept 3 shows 20 single detached, 24 semi-detached, 16 fourplexes, the open space block as well. So the open space and environmental blocks pretty much don't move, they just vary in size. And yeah, so that will give a total of 60 units as well. This has the same road configuration as concept 2 pretty much. One main municipal road from Ontario Street, and then the private lane for all the units that front onto it, being that the semi-detached housing on the southern portion of the property. With this interface, we still tried to maintain buffering from the existing, and also we tried to put the semi-detached out of the visual of the municipal road, the main municipal road, into the site. And then finally, so this is our 4th concept. And with this one, this looks very, we entitled them 3A and 3B because concept 3A or 3 that I just showed you are very similar. The only change is some areas with regards to the semi-detached, and with this we kind of push the envelope just a bit more, and this concept actually shows 66 units. So all other 3 concepts were 60 units max. This one we just kind of made it a bit more intense just to see if it was a possibility and if it was something that could work in this plot of land. So as such, I forgot to mention, there are the 18 singles, 32 semi-detached, and 16 fourplexes. With this design, we tried to maintain a good area for the fourplexes so that they have their own amenity space within those blocks, as well as they have their parking accommodated for them, which includes visitor parking, excuse me. And then as well in the private lane, which is the light gray hatching on, which looks white on the screen, sorry, just looking at it now. The road that looks like a U, that road also we provided the visitor parking along that. So the parking and the road once again would be under common element, which is what the semi-detached housing would be a part of their monthly expenses. So those are the concepts. Moving forward, putting all the concepts against the Planning Act. So this is kind of what you have to do. You kind of have to weigh it against provincial policy and their interests, and also with the plan of subdivision criteria to see which concept will meet all these items the best, and also which provides the minimal adverse impact, and hopefully no adverse impact is what we aim for to the existing residents. And next slide. So what we decided and what our concept is right now is concept 2. That one had the, just trying to see. Which one's concept? Sorry. Okay, so that one had the 26 singles, the 18 semi-detached, and the 16 townhouses. With that, we felt it was the most, the least aggressive in terms of the layout of the site. We provided interfaces that were compatible with the existing. There is a gentle transition for the northern property, or the adjacent property to the north, as its rear yards, and as well to the south where they are semis. My understanding is that development to the south, a large portion of the property is an environmental protection area, so they won't have any rear yard neighbors as well. So they essentially will be backing onto a wood lot. And so then next slide. So this is a potential built form of what a semi-detached would look like in the property. I'm pretty sure you have seen Proctor Park, maybe. This development is on that road, and it's 2 semis, bungalow units, maybe bungalow lofts as well. We're not looking for these big, tall buildings to like dominate the neighborhood. We want it to mix in well with the existing and to have this look of bungalow or bungalow loft. So 1.5 stories is our aim at a max. Next slide. And then for the fourplexes, and I couldn't find any in the area that really showed what we were after. So this is a fourplex that is in Coburg. And basically it looks like a house from the exterior. You would think it's just a large house, but really there are 4 units within that house. And it's basically an apartment building of 4 units that will replicate looking like a single detached house. Next slide. I have another one as well. So this one's exactly the same in Coburg. They both are side by side, those 2 units. And so that is kind of the look we're going for if we went with fourplexes, is to make it look that much more like it's all singles and that look of low, not, I don't want to say low density because that's usually just singles and semis, but just that streetscape of a low built form of like 1 to 1.5 stories. Fourplexes will probably be 2 stories because we are dealing with 4 units, so 2 on top of each other. But there are alternatives. Fourplexes can be configured anyway, but we definitely want to make them look like singles. Next slide. So our next steps. So basically tonight we want to take your comments. We want to know what you like, what you dislike, what you want to know more about, or what you'd like to see more of in the concept. And to help with that, we are going to fine tune our concept into the preferred plan. And then once we've finalized that, we can get all the supporting studies finalized as well, because right now, because we're working with 4, we can't really get complete reports based on, we need that one concept to move forward. And so with that, once we have every report complete and everything, then we'll make the submission to the municipality, and it'll go through circulation and comments from all agencies and residents. So yeah, that's where we're at and where we'd like to go with the project. Next slide. And yeah, so thank you for coming, and I'm open to all questions, and hopefully I can answer, but yeah, that's all.
We can open the floor to questions now. Just maybe just approach the podium just so that everyone can hear your question. And Samantha, can you remind me whether or not we're recording or not? Yeah, so that way it'll be part of the public record.
I like the amount of green space that you've allowed. I'm just curious as to the density of the area and whether this is less than, equal to, or greater than what the province is aiming towards. Thank you.
I'll just remind folks, I didn't say this, I don't think, if you just introduce yourself and your name and your address for the record. Sure, if you want to have another crack at it.
Just add my name.
Sure, that's fine.
So the first 2 concepts I showed had a density of 19 units per hectare, and the second 2 had 21 units per hectare. With that is within the policy standard for a, I would say it's kind of a low form of intensification, like looking at the low density. So we do fit in within the provincial policies. No. You're welcome.
My name is Jim Sherwood, and I own the property just to the north of that you have there. So my concerns are such as that little road you're talking about that's for future connection that's going through my property. So
It's odd to be like, oh, we're pushing it there. Nothing would proceed on like without you wanting it to. Basically what would happen there is we provide the connection in the event that you have, nobody can access your property still. There will be like a 3 meter or 0.3 meter reserve along that. So that kind of keeps it, I guess that would make it illegal for anyone to access your property from that driveway. Just in terms of why it's there, it's kind of to make the connectivity. So I know we did ask you and everything, but it is in terms of, say, you know, in the future you sell it, right? And somebody wants to develop it, they have like, well, we have the connection here. So we're not looking like 5 years in the future, we want to develop it. This is like down the road, like, I don't know how long you can think of. It's just to provide that potential, but it would never be access, and it shouldn't. Like if anyone does, then that's, you take them to the municipality and they deal with it. Okay.
also, you were talking on one of your slides previously about the privacy and whatnot of the residents that are this is going to be bordering on. What are your plans towards that privacy?
You mean of your property? So normally what we do for those interfaces is plantings, a fence too as well. I know that, yeah, that can be a requirement if the municipality can make it a requirement. I'm not sure how Brighton feels, if there are a lot of fencing or not, or if it's more that county, you know, feel of like open space, but there's always plantings. You could put, you know, cedars or something, and that kind of comes. So at this point, it's not really discussed. Right now, we're just creating the lot fabric. That kind of detail would come through the approvals, and then we would have to provide like landscape plans. But taking into consideration that that is a concern, Paul can put it into the comments and make it like a requirement that there is visual buffers.
Yeah, I bring that up because when I moved in, my property hadn't been touched. It was all reeds and everything else. Since then, I reclaimed a lot of it. Now it's nice grass. I don't want people bringing their darn dogs on there, using it as a dog walk and whatnot.
No, they shouldn't.
Oh, that's right. That's why a fence would have to be required to keep them out of it.
Yeah. That could be.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, we're not against a fence or anything, and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mark Wallace. I'm the landowner, and I'm pleased to hear your comments this evening. The road stub was actually my idea and was put there as a courtesy to yourselves in the thought that there may be, to give you the opportunity for potential development if you were either yourself or upon the sale of your property in the future. If the road stub is, unless it's a municipal requirement, and if it's not, you don't want it there, it will disappear. I have absolutely no objection with any sort of fencing or anything that you're speaking of. It makes perfectly good sense. Although we've never met, I have been out in the back where we do cash crop, and you folks are doing a fabulous job at maintaining your lawn and stuff out there. And we have always made a point of staying off of your property, but certainly we are more than willing to go along with any sort of fencing, be it vegetation or in fact fencing.
I'll just provide a bit of additional comment on the idea of connecting streets. So the planning authority, which municipality of Brighton is the planning authority for any decision regarding a plan of subdivision approval, needs to have regard for section 51 of the Planning Act, specifically subsection 24, and there's a list of items there, long list of items. And one of those items is having regard for future street connections, so that we have a future orderly layout of streets for not only current but future inhabitants, as the phrase goes from the act. So typically planning staff do look for those connecting streets, and to have connecting streets at a frequency that makes for an appropriate block face, so that we don't have oversized blocks and it's really hard for people to get around other than maybe on a car, and even at times through a vehicle it's difficult. So we tend to look for fairly regularly spaced intersections of about 150 to 200 meters separation, so that you make sure that people can have convenient movements, in particular emergency vehicles too. So that's a little bit of background on the planning considerations for future street connections.
Hi. Hi. My name is Doug Wiskin. The original, maybe you can, originally there were two blocks. That one, and was the second.
That's outside the staff will answer that. There are two blocks, two rectangles out there. There's a picture there.
Oh, good. Yes.
But the dotted line is the urban boundary of the municipality.
Right.
To the left of the dotted line is the rural part of it. That is rural. So we can only develop the block on the right.
There's no plans at all for the other sector.
No, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what it. Thank you.
So if we had the little, we have a little, you don't have a little light? Okay, you got the mouse. Can you just have a look there, sir? So look to the right, show the block, we're outline the block, please, we're going to develop. Down in there, only to that dotted line. Everything else will continue to be cash crop.
For how long?
Until they move the urban boundary out to Greenwood. If it never moves, it stays the way it is.
Okay.
It's beyond my control. If there's an official plan in the next 10 years, 20 years that moves that urban boundary all the way over to the left line there, north-south, which is Greenwood Avenue, and if that moves the urban boundary out, then that would potentially, and I use the word potentially, put that second block in line for some kind of development. But until that happens, nothing else happens. That's why we're solely proposing 60 lots as opposed to going all the way to Greenwood and proposing 147.
Greenwood, what?
It's the road allowance.
Greenwood, if you go from number 2, it used to be Greenwood, is now presently called Rundle Lane,
Right.
which comes down by where the seniors building is being built and the caravans or camping trailers are. That is Greenwood Avenue originally. It's now called Rundle Lane.
Right.
Yeah.
They closed the crossing of the tracks. On the other side of the tracks, it's merely a tractor path. You know, it's an unopened overland.
Okay.
Greenwood Avenue, that's what it is.
The how?
Big time.
He's had a stroke. Yes.
Well, I've had severe heart issues, so take all the time you want.
There a road going through there?
That has been, I'm sorry if I'm taking over here, but that was a property to the south that I owned at one point and sold a number of years ago and has gone through the process with the staff and this council and has received draft plan approval. It's conceptual at this point, it's not built.
Okay.
That's right. Now, I don't have any trees to remove.
Excuse me, I'm just.
No trees down on our property. We're working solely on the area that has been farmed. And the treescape that we have
Hey,
on our
Mark.
property, we are ensuring.
Mark, just maybe use the mic. I'm
Sorry, okay.
just thinking of people at home who might be who might be tuning in on.
Yeah, sorry,
just
I
remembering that.
apologize for that. So just to clarify, of the two rectangles you see on the screen, the rectangle on the right, by virtue of the vertical dotted line, is within the urban boundary of the municipality. So to the right of that dotted line is the developable area of the entire property. To the left, so we go from urban to rural by virtue of that dotted line. The part of the development at the very bottom part of that diagram at this point is proposed and has received draft plan approval. That is not myself. That is another individual, has nothing to do with me. So what we're simply proposing is on the rectangle on the right, by virtue of the vertical dotted line, proposing 60 units in some form that will, and we're working very closely with staff and appreciate their help very much so far on providing us information as to what is permissible under the provincial policy statement in conjunction with Northumberland County and with the municipality of Brighton official plan. So that is our intent, is to simply bring forward what we can do. Again, the property has been cash cropped for a number of years, probably dating back to the mid-70s when my dad had it. And at this point, what we are simply doing is trying to develop the area that has been cash crop that is within the urban boundary, and to limit, if not avoid, any removal of any trees, and to enhance and protect the trees, the water course that is there to the best of our ability. Thank you, sir.
Mark,
Yes.
on the eastern part of the,
Can you move the mouse over to the eastern? How far over? Where are we going?
there,
Yes?
what is, why, why is there a parking lot in that area? And why is there a green area too?
On here?
Yeah, oh, there, yes.
Okay, so again, through the conceptual designs and the mixed type of housing we're trying to bring forward, singles, semi-detached, and a form of townhome, which would fall under the proviso of affordable housing, if you will. So to give it like a mixed type of housing, oftentimes with those type of units, there needs to be a common laneway which runs to the south. And then because the units are relatively small, you may have seen them where they have one, they're up, your Cortland, so they're up in there, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. They need a Royal Gala, okay. So not only would you have a driveway, so they count the driveway as a parking space, they count the garage as a parking space. These are also providing additional parking for visitor parking. So there's a driveway to come to the units, and then once you know the owner can park there, and then across the very bottom you can see where it's kind of partitioned off. There's 8 or 10 parking spaces which would be visitor parking. Okay. The dark green area. Okay, so that area is where the existing band of trees are on the property, and the water course, and that's the area we want to enhance and protect based on setbacks that are required from the conservation area, Lower Trent. So all of that is there's a band. You're more than welcome to drive down 114B Ontario, go down the driveway. You'll see the band of trees. They're not going anywhere. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just provide a little bit of background on a couple of those questions. So Mark had pointed out in response to Doug's question, yeah, about basically half the property is being developed because only the westerly part or easterly part is in the urban designation. So the urban designation is a way of allocating where the growth in the municipality is to occur and what will be serviced with full public sewer and water, and making the the eligibility for development on that basis. So when might that urban boundary change? Don't know if this is going to change in the next official plan. That's all part of the process, but the county is now undertaking its official plan review, and which is obliged to do every 10 years. And at the end of that time frame, then the municipality of Brighton needs to begin its official plan review. And our exercise is to do something to bring into conformity with the county official plan. I think that there may be an adjustment to the urban boundaries for Brighton, but we still have to have those discussions with the county, and it has to be based on growth forecasts and projections and other planning principles for planning for the future.
On a positive note, you're saying that you're backing Plan B, Plan 2.
Yes, at the moment, that is our preferred plan.
Plan 2 is the only one that does not have the ugly fourplex.
We put townhouses in it. It's,
No fourplex.
no.
No four.
Okay. Hi.
First off, thank you very much for hosting this. We really appreciate it, and I think it's really great to engage the public as little as it is. My name is Denise Rundle. Yes, Mom? Press the button, please. It's pressed. Yeah, yeah. Don't think we really needed it in here, but that's okay. I know that you're hard of hearing. She did have a bit of difficulty. I'm somewhat speaking on behalf of Sonia Rundle from 144 Elizabeth Street, only because she received a couple newspaper, she noticed a couple newspaper notices in the Independent, I believe it was. And we've had several conversations about her getting very concerned about what's been happening in Brighton. She's been a resident for 30 years, and I've been coming here for 30 years as well, and I'm planning to be a future resident. So I also have an interest in how this town is growing and what to anticipate in the future, and decide whether even I want to live here myself and doing my own research. So anyways, I did take a look at the notice that you had here, and I was a little bit concerned, only because the way the notice is written, we are being presented with 4 options on developing this subject land, which it just seems so premature at this stage, being a pre-consultation meeting. And I understand all the technical reports you have to submit. I'd also say that all those technical reports that were required for parking and environmental studies, traffic, etc. I believe a lot of those reports are going to be required regardless of where any developer puts a subdivision in this town. So that's set aside, because all those technicalities, including the greenfield space, in my opinion, needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed anyways. So really, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, and I explained it to my mother-in-law here, the 4 options ranging from 60 units to 66 to 38 townhouses, 24, 32. And it was almost like pick a number, what works for you. It's very difficult for any resident, I would have to think, to give you a number and tell you exactly what concept's going to fit in this parcel of land. The reason I say that is that I did a bit of research on the town official plan. I'm somewhat familiar with the provincial policy statement that everyone throws around. That's a very high level policy document requiring efficient, high density, compact, number of units, maximizing transit, etc. So I understand that particular policy. But I also looked at the official plan. So the official plan for this parcel, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be wrong, and here's a question for you. I saw a greenfield designation. I saw an environmental protection designation, the heavy green area, obviously for the water course, and community facilities, I think. I'm not sure. But I'm more concerned about Brighton's official plan for this area. And those are the designations I'm seeing. I'm not seeing residential. I'm aware from the last council meeting, in fact, that we're doing a secondary plan review. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe this parcel is included. It looks like it is excluded. And the area of the secondary plan review, when I was looking at that mapping, almost abuts the northern boundary of this property. Now, secondary plan reviews are meant, if I'm not mistaken, to take a look at opportunities for intensification and seeing how the town is going to grow and to somewhat strategize on how we grow in a sensible, responsible, and sustainable manner. So that secondary plan review, if it abuts this site, I want to know what's coming north of this site. And at least the director of planning made reference to the fact that this parcel of land needs to fit in with connecting roads. Because my mother-in-law, what she is seeing now, because of the pressure of COVID, because of the pressure of developers running out of room in Toronto, in the GTA. We're on the very eastern fringe of the GTA. We're the town of Brighton. And I say we, and yes, I'm not a resident, but I am very, very concerned for development coming in this town, just as I've watched it. And I've participated in a number of different development proposals. Some make sense, seniors housing, for example, and affordable housing. Of course, we need affordable housing. That does not equate to maximizing density at absolutely every opportunity, because this town is under severe pressure now from developers, some very high-level resource developers, such as IBI Group, such as a number of different, not planning consultants and developers coming into the town. We're minimally resourced. I mean, thank goodness we have a director of planning. I'm very pleased to hear about that. And back in the day, they used to have to contract out planning services, and it was open season. But I'm seeing this even where I live, and the pressure for bigger houses and throwing around words like the provincial policy statement requires it, affordable housing. Street townhouses cost a fortune in some places. So the concept of what's affordable to some is you know, it's an argument, and yes, we need it. We need young families coming to this town because that's the only way we're going to grow, and they can't afford the $1 million properties. I looked at a property specifically not far from my mother-in-law, and my neighbor bought it where I live. He beat us to the punch, and he's over $800,000 for a single story. So affordability is very subjective, but there is a requirement for it, of course, provincially. I understand that. But I think we need to be very cautious here. The concern that I'm hearing, even from other people I know in Brighton, are people who have taken the large swaths of land, slapped on a draft plan, a subdivision, not developed it for years. What happened down in the water area was, I don't understand how you get to your zoning after you've divided up and carved up the land. It gets a little difficult. So the planning needs to be done very carefully and strategically in this town. So when I see a secondary plan review being done north of this site, I want to know, where's that road going to? The one that's heading north there. I'm looking at some dense proposal on the southeast corner for street townhouses. And you talked about putting the multiplexes in the middle of the proposal, so it hides it from everybody else that we don't want to see it. Well, why would we not want to see it if it's compatible? Right? A lot of these subdivisions I'm seeing, they're starting off at the singles, and then they put the higher density, the medium density fourplexes in the center. Don't worry, no one will see it. Maybe they should be out on more of a main street, not hidden away. But anyways, these are just stuff off the top of my head, and I only saw this last week. But the issue I have with the medium density fourplexes or street townhouses, whatever you're going in your orange, I guess in the center and on the southeast corner, that just seems like an opportunity to maximize density in the southeast corner, knowing that you're actually blocked by the other homes that front onto Ontario Street, as well as the green field space. It looks it. So we have a tiny area, so we're punching through a private right of way. In my experience, Private right-of-ways are an absolute nightmare unless they're done properly, because if you, in one of your proposals, you have 38 homes. If there's not a legal mechanism to deal with that right-of-way, you will have issues with maintenance, snow plowing, garbage, whatever. There's got to be some form of agreement. So whether you're thinking of a condominium development, I don't know. You mentioned the word common element. I don't know. But anyways, it just looks like an easy, I know what it is, sir. Thank you. But it just looks like the extra density in the southeast quadrant is unnecessary. To me, why not larger spacious singles backing onto singles that front onto Ontario Street? So again, this just simply comes down to density. My mother-in-law is not capable of identifying which option is the best. All she could articulate to me, and I tend to agree, is the density. It's coming down to the density. So our notice tonight for pick an option, do you want 60 singles or do you want 64 singles, 38 street townhouses, 64, 66, 32? I don't know. I'm going to rely on our director of planning, who's going to look at the official plan and look at the density of the adjacent development and make sure that it fits in. And that there is a bit of a transition, not a transition to more dense development in the center. We don't even get that development in the center of town in the middle of this urban settlement area in downtown. I drove by Singleton tonight, all that development from where my parents used to live, and it's really nice. It's compatible, spacious little yards. They're a little bit closer together than the existing development, and that's great. The developer wins. He may bang for his buck and is not offending the other residents in the area. The other concern that my mother-in-law and I would have is that we've got a number of subdivisions, large swaths of green field being taken up and plunking down over 1,000 people. I don't even know how many people this would generate. But again, there's going to be impact, whether it be schools or recreational parks and facilities, etc. We need to attract the employment uses to Brighton. We need to attract the other social services that are going to be required for young families and also for the people aging in place. Because the other thing that may come into play here is the accessory suites or the second unit suites. Now we're punching a little door in there and you've got 2 families per single family lot. We always must consider that because yeah, the province thinks it's a great idea. All the municipalities had to buy into it. But density is going to come down to the density. I'm not concerned about your traffic, your parking, or even fixing the water course. But it's taken a large swath of green field that is not connected. This parcel is not connected north or south to anything else. So when I looked at the map, I determined obviously the urban boundary. You're right on the edge between the urban area and the rural. So there should be a gradation of density going that way. You know what I mean? You're not in the center of town. This is on the edge of the urban settlement boundary. And yes, it can change if council wants to do it, let them. That's fine, but they haven't done it yet. They haven't even reviewed the official plan amendment for this site. They need to get their policies in place and understand, as opposed to picking an option and we're working our way up. So we're saying, okay, I support 60, what do you have here? Mix of 28 singles, 12 semis, and 24 plexes. Either way, you're getting your density from 60 up to 66. I mean, I can see that. But I think we need to start at the higher level. The secondary plan review needs to be looked at, which is right abutting this site. How is this going to fit in with the lands to the north and the south? This is just punching through east-west because someone owns a big agricultural field. It's a green field. It's clean land. It's no sweat for them. They're going to win. So it's about balancing. The applicant's got to win, and this town has to win because the town, and maybe you're not aware of it, Angela, but they've got a number of subdivisions that are cooking around. They are overworked, probably even overwhelmed. Right? But it's coming at them fast, and it's going to continue for a while, this pressure. So we need to be very, very careful. So to start at a pre-consult stage, pick a number. I can't tell you what density is appropriate there because I don't know what policies the municipality even wants to see there. because it's not designated residential, I'll bet. You're contained within a geographical urban settlement boundary, urban fringe boundary, but your official plan designations are greenfield, environmental protection, and something else, maybe community facilities or something. Well, you still have to get through the policy stage, never mind designing a subdivision, so we can't give any wholesome comments here tonight on which concept. I mean, my mother-in-law's, what's the orange ones? I'm trying to explain it to her, but she's very astute. And she is seeing what is happening. It's not just this application, by the way. It's just the constant pressure that she is seeing. She dealt with a huge subdivision at the east end of town, again, trying to increase the density. This is a town. This ain't Port Hope or Coldborg. This isn't a medium-sized community, and it's not a city yet. We're getting there, but we're going to want to be really, really careful on how we manage it, I think. And we're really happy that we've got a director that I think is listening to the community and even facilitating this. Very good start, but it's the density. And I don't think there should be any need for any private right of way on a land parcel that big. There's no reason for it. Maintenance, snow plowing, etc. It should be in public ownership. And if it means putting larger lots there, then so be it. Developer's going to lose a few units, whatever. But I mean, it's up to your proposal. But if you want our comments, I don't think there should be any private rights of ways. There's just no need for it, and not in this location, right up against the rural area. So that's kind of my comments off the top of my head right now. Look forward to participating in the future potentially, and I'll discuss it with my mother-in-law as well on how she wishes to proceed. She's filled out her address, and I've asked her to maybe just go away now that we've talked a little bit more about it, and write down her other particular concerns, and maybe I can help her scan it. She finally got her own iPad about a week ago, so I'm quite pleased with that. And I did send you an email, so I'll show her how to pick up her emails, etc. But I'm just looking out for her interests, and as I said, mine for my own personal future, because I've always wanted to retire here. And I'm praying that that we're in good hands with council. I've heard too many stories about historically, and I'm just keeping an eye, let's just say, because we need to. We're under pressure and we need development, absolutely, but it needs to be tempered. So thank you very much for letting me say a few words, and appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
I would just like to say a comment. I understand they're just pictures and it's hard to know, what, yeah, I understand. You're just residents, you don't know, right? If I came with a blank piece of paper, it would be really hard to be like, well, I want to see this and this. So that's why concepts are created to help you visualize and say like, no, I don't like that, I don't. With regards to the secondary plan, yes, we're not in it, but we do abut it. And we are having the consultant who's working on the secondary plan review our items as well and have it incorporated so that it does not look like patchwork and doesn't flow with the secondary plan. So those considerations are in place. While the notice and this meeting may seem like we just threw something there and we didn't look at policy and we just are using provincial policy to be like, we need density. I will say the owner and myself as well, we have been working closely with the municipality. We want this to be an enjoyable space. We want it to be desirable. Our singles and semis are on the, in terms of what a single frontage is right now, they are large. They are large lots. We wanted to create that. Unfortunately, developments are not just singles anymore. It can happen. People can't afford it. And I understand, like, you want that space, you want that. Singles now are 900,000 starting, right? So it's very hard. That's why townhouses come in. That's why semis. That's why you do see that density. We weren't trying to maximize it. We were trying to maintain, yes, we were putting townhouses in, but the majority of this development, we are trying to maintain as singles because yes, Brighton is beautiful. Brighton has that nice look to it. It's just you can't develop just singles anymore. It's not, the province won't accept it, the municipality won't accept it, the county won't accept it. Okay, so even if it was a great idea to put these luxurious big lots for everyone to enjoy Brighton, as like how it has been, it's not in the policies anymore. So no, I'm not saying council would refuse it. I'm not saying that. No. What I'm saying is like the official plan and the policies in place, the provincial plans, the county plans, the staff and the municipality, they have a duty to follow those plans as well, right? So it's, of course we are, but we still have to apply to these. Yes. Yes. Yes, of course, of course. Well, it would be residential, and based on the density, I'd say it's low density residential.
Yeah, I'll just trip in here, I guess. So we have to remember that we have people at home still watching, so we're not using the mics. The one-way conversation without a mic is going to be confusing for people at home. I'll just give you some background as to the why we had multiple concepts presented to you tonight. That's actually a staff directive to the applicant. The idea there is to optimize the build out of a development. Similar to environmental assessment process, different options are presented to the public so that otherwise you're just looking at one choice and one set of comments as opposed to looking at a full range of alternatives. So it's going to be more informing to the public and also to move towards optimization of multiple considerations. Where is the best layout of streets? Where are the best layout of parks? Where are the best? Because there will be always answers, but not always the best answers. Multiple options steps us towards the best alternatives. So that's why it's been presented, and that's why staff have asked the proponent to develop multiple concepts. And that's not to say that any one of these concepts will be the final one when finally draft approved, assuming it is. But that's why we have this public engagement process. So I think I just wanted to give some added background as to why we have the process that we do. Yeah, just regarding the, so I'll just be, don't move, I'll just be brief. In terms of the official plan designation, yes, it is greenfields and a community facilities. The community facilities designation is a legacy designation. My understanding historically, these lands and the land south were slated for a golf course type subdivision at one time, and that the community facilities is to reflect the golf course. So that's what I've been told. And I think that's the history, but so it's a legacy designation that is essentially being cleaned up through the process of considering this development.
Okay, Deborah Sherwood. I was just wondering the differences for the fourplex, and you showed two-story version. I just thought in this area, there's a lot of people with mobility issues. And if it's two-story, it would be better having them all with contact with the earth. Because I have heard that one of the major problems that people who are going from a bigger home and downsizing to retire, they were sitting there saying it's almost impossible to get someplace so that you can just walk in the door. Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, and I do apologize. The photos, the examples I provided are 2 stories. The way I've laid it out on the site though, they are actually the 1 floor for that specific reason. And also with talking with the owner, it was to look like how can I, like not a tall development, right? Just 1.5 stories. So unfortunately, trying to find a precedent image for a fourplex that looked like a house, I kind of couldn't find one. My closest option was Coburg, but what I wanted to show was it can look like a house and it does not look like a square box, like an apartment building or something like that. It can be aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood.
I have a cousin, and when her husband passed, she wanted to downsize, but she could not find that's kind of a facility, and she's still staying in the old house because she can't find one. Yeah. Okay.
I just have a couple of quick questions. I'm not familiar with the gray area around where you're saying it would not be assumed by the town. So this makes it a condominium area?
So there's a structure, what it would be and what I think what we would want to move forward with if we do keep a private roadway. So once again, this is just a concept. You know, if the municipality doesn't like it or if the residents are really against it, it can be a municipal road. But in terms of this, the vision was a common element condominium. So just the road is owned by the, so you still own your lot, you know, you still take, that's it. It's just you own part of the road. And so you pay for the maintenance of that road.
Is it all the people in this development who would be responsible for the maintenance of that road, or just the people on the south side of the access road coming in?
It's not only who fronts on the road, so who uses the road.
Next question. The green space that comes off of that road, would that be considered common element that the people would be responsible for maintaining as well?
No, so we put a portion of that parkland onto the municipal road with the intent of it would be a municipally owned park.
And the town would?
The town would own it.
My next question is just a curiosity question. The unassumed road, the potential road, Greenwich, the extension of Rundle, what they're calling Rundle now, that is rural.
Yes.
And is that just south of the tracks that it's considered rural, or is it north of the tracks as well? Because there's a huge development going in north of the tracks, west of Rundle. Was that zoned rural? I'm talking about the Applewood development, and I'm sorry, I'm off topic.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's the Applewood subdivision phases 3 and 4. Phase 3 is designated residential, and phase 4 is designated greenfield with a swale going through it, designated environmental protection.
So
it's within the urban designation.
Thank you.
Hi, do you know when you're expecting to actually make a submission for an OPA zoning and subdivision and condominium potentially?
The condominium wouldn't come with the first ones, just because down the road.
Yeah.
Right.
If you go with the private right.
Right. Yes. I don't. We do have reports have started, but once again, like saying that, we do need, like our environmental report has been going, our site assessment has been going, archaeological, I believe is completed. So all of those reports that needed to go on site had to wait through the winter. And then the big reports like the planning report, the engineering design, that will need the specific concept, because that is what you base it off of, right? Usually to compile all these reports takes about 3 to 4 months. Yeah, they're big reports. Yeah, they're long and big. Oh, well, that's what we're hopeful, right? And that there's no issues. And then it goes into the municipality and they start going through the review process. You know, you always kind of want to hurry up, but heading into the summer, it tends to like slow down in getting reports done. So
Well, I think if we've exhausted all the questions, I'm sure there'll be more, but Samantha's pointed out how to contact us, and always available for a phone call and a chat. Hmm.
So I can, I don't know about the website, but I can give you my card and I can just email you them directly. Yeah.
Sure. So folks at home, if you're still tuning in, Denise was asking about the postings on the website, materials being available. Usually it's in the news and notices tab of the website, but we'll check that again, make sure it's working and it's populated.
I believe I actually included the notice in the email that I sent you today. I don't know if you received my email. So I think I sent you the notice. Yes, and if you don't, you can certainly reach out to the planning department as well, or Angela from IBI. So I think for anyone listening at home, I think I'm just going to end the live stream here. And certainly if there's any other additional questions, you can forward them over to the planning department at the municipality, and we'll certainly forward them over to Angela at IBI to make them part of the record for this meeting. So thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance.